menopause and mental health. This is a big deal. Women in their late 30s, but for sure into the 40s and early 50s, are going through what's called perimenopause or even menopause. This is a big time of change when women have additional and new and unusual for them mental health challenges, besides all the physical health challenges, of course. I'm Joya Vanderlaan. I'm a functional medicine family nurse practitioner. I practice here in Illinois physically, and I have licenses in many other states as well. One of the things I specialize in is hormone optimization, and especially treatment during this time where hormones are up and down and unpredictable and overall declining. And it can lead to, a number of really bothersome and detrimental symptoms. But let's talk about specifically mental health today. I see a lot of patients with this on a daily basis. And oftentimes what I'm hearing is a lot of the same stuff over and over again. It's just very predictable in a lot of cases, is anxiety, poor sleep, some depression, irritability, and just the biggest thing I hear from people is they just don't feel like themselves. Maybe they've always been an anxious person. That's a different story. But the anxiety, the depression, the mood changes, the mental health issues that can come along with perimenopause and menopause make a person feel like not quite themselves. Something is different. One of the things that's really saddening about our traditional medical environment, as opposed to functional medicine, is that patients often get gaslit, and just not believed, right? Or they're depressed and so they get an antidepressant without really understanding, well, what's the underlying cause of the depression or anxiety? Is it hormone related? Because in that case, an antidepressant may not be the best choice for this person, but rather let's look into their hormones and see if those are maybe some of the reason or the whole reason behind these mood changes and a lot of other physical changes, of course, too. So just a quick recap, and I've said this over and over and you may have heard me, but menopause is a year to the day from when you had your last period. But that period of perimenopause can be 10 years before you actually hit that menopause mark. And that period of perimenopause comes along with a lot of symptoms, including these mental health issues, that are just super disruptive and actually increase risk for things like dementia and heart disease and osteoporosis and all of that. Besides the mood changes that can happen, often women during perimenopause and menopause are experiencing cognitive challenges, memory issues, focus and concentration issues, even motivation issues, which really feels terrible, especially for a lot of the patients who I see are very type A driven, on task, like very on point, and then suddenly they feel like they're starting to slip. And then sleep issues too. Oh, it is so troublesome when people then aren't sleeping, because that affects everything, including your brain function, including some of your physical symptoms, including your mood, and then your productivity during the day as well. So between the mood and the cognitive challenges and the sleep, that's plenty of sort of mental health related symptoms, let alone all the physical symptoms. So addressing these symptoms appropriately is so important. So you need to find somebody who's an expert at dealing with perimenopause and menopause. What contributes to these mood changes? Well, for one, of course, it's the hormone fluctuations. And not only are our hormones on a steady decline during menopause and perimenopause, during the first part especially, there's a lot of up and down, which is why we get the hot flashes and which is why we feel okay sometimes, but not okay other times. And so understanding that it's not your fault and that there is something that we can do about it is really important. Stress. It's difficult to talk about stress because there are fewer kind of solid things that we can do about it, right? Life is going to be stressful. So I can't take away the life stress. I can't take away, the kid stress or the spouse stress or the work stress or the money stress or that. But how we deal with it and how we frame it as in our minds is really important. How we talk to ourselves about the stressors that we have. And then also supporting our adrenal glands through this period of stress and making sure that our adrenal glands are able to produce enough, but not too much cortisol. And then how do you eat and sleep and exercise in such a way that we're nourishing those adrenals and the cortisol levels rather than tanking them? So what can we do? Well, sleep and exercise and diet, of course, I talk a lot in depth in my visits with my patients about that, but high protein and fiber diets, lower carb, moderate intensity cardio, with weightlifting. So strength training is super important. And then of course, sleep. And sleep tends to be one of the big priorities because once you fix sleep, so many of the other symptoms often resolve themselves almost fully. Hormone therapy is the other big thing that we do. I do the Dutch test. We figure out where those hormones are, and we treat based on labs and symptoms and who the patient is, and then an individualized regimen, both in terms of what we give and then in terms of dose, is given to the woman after a conversation about risks and benefits. And of course, there are mostly benefits, especially from what we're learning now from old studies that were misinterpreted in the past. But we know that the benefits almost always far outweigh any risks, especially the risks that we were taught years ago. I am not a hormone mill. I am not a men's health clinic or a online hormone subscription service. And so if that's what you're looking for, we probably are not a good fit. My approach to optimizing hormones is much more holistic than that. Yes, I use the hormones, and I think they are a really important piece of treating perimenopause and menopause. However, diet, exercise, sleep, all those things are super important too. And I go into a lot of depth on teaching patients how to do those things in such a way that it's going to, make the symptoms of menopause and perimenopause much better, but also with the interest of longevity in mind. We want you to be your healthiest, best active, functional self for as many years as possible and not be stuck in that situation of being in your 70s or 80s and being alive, but not being healthy and vibrant and able to do the things you want to do. So I look at it at a much more holistic perspective, doing nutritional testing and all the counseling on lifestyle changes that can be made to optimize as well. So if this is the approach that sounds good to you, I know it's the best way to do things. But if it sounds good to you and you need help and you're in a state where I am licensed, which is on the website, I'd be happy to have a discovery call with you and kind of hear your story and what you're looking for and see if it's a good match for us to be able to help you. You can book that discovery call on our website, nourishhousecalls.com, and I look forward to talking with you.